Mute, muted. Excellent. And then there's Doug. And there's Doug.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome. I'm gonna unlock that.
Oh, okay.
I know. Okay. All right. Doug?
Good afternoon, how's everyone?
We're just fine. I wish I was outside.
Enjoying the weather, that's what we're doing.
Okay, well, I'm bringing this, meeting of the Land Use and Planning Standing Committee meeting of May 28th to order. And it doesn't look like we have any guests, just the three of us. The minutes look good to me, Doug,
Yep, agreed.
all right, and you fixed the,
Yeah,
yes.
I fixed the gas.
So the minutes were approved. Cool. The camping ordinance. Here's what happened. Ordinance 911 was the camping ordinance. When I searched, I saw that it was on the city council's agenda to be amended. But after that, there was no record that it had been amended. And when I looked into ordinances in our city's website,
Right.
it wasn't there.
What?
So needless to say, I called Dave.
Okay.
And Dave dug it out and found out, in fact, it had been amended.
Okay.
So it's 911 amended that we're dealing with.
Okay.
Hi, Jody. So it is 911. And the gist of it is that no person shall camp in, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
on any city-owned property. And that's not, but not limited to streets, so any, okay, so no.
No.
As to the one that we were talking about, commercially zoned, which it says that no person shall camp in, occupy, blah, 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 campers, fifth wheels, for more than 14 consecutive days on any privately owned property that is commercially zoned. This has nothing to do with privately owned property. Okay?
Oh.
It says privately owned property that is commercially zoned.
Okay, so,
So that brings up the Alpine Lodge. I was on the planning board when that
saw that.
came through, but I wasn't at that meeting. So I still haven't gotten the record of determination, but I do have the,
Minutes.
I have the minutes and I have all the information about it.
Yeah, I went through and read through most of it, and it was,
Tedious.
yeah, well, and then, I mean, they voiced their concern, which is now applicable, like, what's gonna happen when they go to sell? And now,
Because
like,
it is on the market, although it
Uh-huh.
said there were 7 RV spots.
counted
Mhm.
6,
Well, we only approved 6.
yeah. Oh, I
So,
counted, well, I went and
It
counted
could be
6.
the Realtor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a first. Okay, so, 6 were approved, they don't have city sewer, they only have city water.
Their sewer is hooked up through the Alpine, so they do have city sewer, it's just on one line.
It's on one line through the Alpine? Interesting.
Yeah, because they
Because
were,
were not able to get DEQ approval for the shared sewer. This is what came from Al Bloomer. The Public Works deal was with the water and sewer. They were not able to get DEQ approval for shared sewer, so there
Right.
are no sewer connections for the RV sites, only water.
well, actually, right, I did talk to the owner, and, they did get DEQ approval for a shared line, but they have to test the water, which is ridiculous because it's city water. And they have to test it monthly, and they're like, well, where do you want us to test it? And they're like, well, inside the hotel. And he's like, but it's city water. And so he's been fighting with DEQ on that.
Okay.
So it is approved through DEQ to have the shared line that they currently have.
Wait, they're sharing both sewer and water?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a sewer and water, yeah, they share the,
Did they aggregate the lots like they talked about doing?
I don't know if that has happened yet. I don't know. I think mainly,
The legal description didn't really help me.
yeah.
So that didn't really
Yeah,
help me.
I read through it, and I was like,
Yeah, I don't
Moving
know. I didn't ask them if they aggregated the lots or not. I think it's all being sold that way, as one property. but the big question is because we have such a shortage of workforce housing, if someone wants to come in and, like, let's say, turn the Eagles Nest into an RV park and allow long-term, hookups,
Mhm.
like for the summer, someone comes in and lives here for the summer and is working, and they're living in their camper in the RV park, do we want to allow it or not? Because the way it's written right now, technically, I mean, they're saying if it's a commercially zoned lot, you're not supposed to allow that.
So,
And,
That's a mixed use there.
yeah, but the Alpine has also been, people coming up to him like, and saying, I have a job, but I don't have a place to live. I need a place, yeah, I have an RV, can I stay in it can I rent a spot and stay in it until I find permanent housing? Which could be the end of summer, the way the summers are around here and the amount of housing we have. So the way that's written now, that's technically not allowed
It is not allowed at all.
at all, yeah,
No.
because it's more than 14 days
he's not even,
consecutive.
so he can rent them out, like, has he been renting them out now, just under the 14-day limit?
Well, what it is if someone's staying at his hotel and and they have a camper,
Uh-huh,
he lets them park it there.
okay, but it's not like KOA style where they like.
It could be, I don't know that he's got everything approved yet.
That's
I don't know if all of that has been
'Cause I've seen-
settled.
Well,
During the
he has
summer.
to go through subdivision rules, we know.
Well, and he already had, I mean, that's all been approved,
Okay, because number 10
because the
here-
council even approved it.
Because the number 10 on the requirements was all impact fees for a 1-inch water line, admin meter and loop shall be paid to the city. The backflow preventer of the line shall be approved by Montana DEQ. Is that backflow preventer for water?
Honestly, I don't know where he's at on satisfying all of that. Because he was working his way down that list of requirements that council and the city had put on him.
Yeah.
And I think he was actually going to go back and see if all of that had to be followed 100%, like paving the lots.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You know,
you're supposed to pave them all.
Yeah, because it's, right now, I mean, every RV park, hardly any of them are paved, and,
That was the requirement. See, this is the
Right.
problem. Planning board approves something based on a set of requirements.
right,
And nobody says the requirements have not been met. Therefore, you need to cease and desist. And this has happened more than once,
mhm.
where the planning board says, you have to do this. They agreed to do that, because
But they
they
don't.
agreed
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah.
And then they don't
Well, and
do
he's
it.
not necessarily saying he won't do it, he just, the way that he has his drain system there,
Mhm.
it works better to have the crushed, the
Gravel.
road mix,
Yeah.
because it actually absorbs the water. I mean, they don't have stormwater there.
Yeah.
So he's, if I pave the whole thing, the water is just gonna run. So I think, and I don't know, he may just do it anyway. He just was kind
He
of
does
talking
do-
to me.
He does things anyway, is the real.
No, I meant he may pave it anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm just concerned because the email that I got from the planning board says that there's no sewer connections for the RV sites, only water.
Well, and maybe there isn't. I don't know.
Okay.
I just know that he's sharing the water line from the hotel.
It didn't look
No.
like there were sewer hookups.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Well,
I-
I saw
I don't
something
wanna
in
speak to
all of
something I
this,
don't know.
that when they went through the subdivision rules, there was something about if you're within a certain distance from regular dump sites, you don't have to have sewer. And that's why, because,
Right, well,
Town pump, but town
Has
pump
it.
is the only, isn't town pump the only?
but
dump
it
site?
was the proximity,
Yeah.
so he didn't need to
Right.
have sewer.
right, and I think you can have dry camping. It's
Yeah.
just, he wanted the hookups, so.
Well, we have-
Well,
the
to make
water.
it more, and that's where I think if he had the hookups, then it would be more feasible to do the temporary workforce housing situation.
Right, I think he's just, feels bad that he's turning people away, He's saying, I can't let you hook up here for more than 14 days,
It says consecutive days.
consecutive, that's what I mean, consecutive
And so
days.
they could conceivably move out one day and move back in. I mean.
But I guess the question is, do we want to, we're basically asking land use and planning to revisit that So with the workforce housing situation the way that it is, and temporary people coming in to work for the summer, do we want them to be able to, you know, go somewhere where there's a hookup, you know, in town, and basically live in their, you know, some of their,
Didn't we discuss that, we would allow it for 90 days as long as we're paid by the employer directly?
We
What?
discussed
We
that.
discussed it, we didn't really put anything into writing,
Okay.
so, our last meeting, because you had, that was when you had just sent that email.
Yeah,
With the
yeah.
concerns, and we had the discussion that it would be similar to how Bastions run their, the bunkhouse, bunkhouse type thing. So, the RV sites would be not available for any individual, but available to businesses and employers in Red Lodge. And so an employer, so let's say Babcock and Miles has an employee and they have nowhere to live, but they have an RV, and they can be like, hey, we actually pay for this RV site for an employee. And that way, the employer is in charge of it. Does that make sense? They're the ones paying.
It does. I guess I'm just kind of curious why,
Because that seems, I think the reason we did it was because then it bypasses any other just random individual showing up saying, oh yeah, I do have a job here, and then a week later gets canned, but yet still manages to stay there.
Here's my concern. You do it for one, you do it for everybody.
well, no, that's why, it would be
That's
for
the
everybody.
principle.
Yeah, it would be for everybody. That's what I'm saying. Revisit that ordinance. Do you want, I mean, and we could say we don't want to. I'm just saying, you know, right now, that ordinance says we can't.
So there are some vacant lots in our community entrance.
Right?
We could conceivably turn them into an RV park on our community entrance.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is in our community entrance,
I'm just saying
and
that
so
if
is the
we
Eagles
make it-
Nest if someone turns that
If we change it
into
for
one.
one, we change it for everybody.
Absolutely.
I mean,
You
right
have
now,
to.
it is 14 days, we could conceivably do it, it would still be a conditional use. You know, that's a conditional use, it's not an approved use, they'd still have to go through, state subdivision.
Mm-hmm.
But, what about the lot that's vacant, that's behind the auto shop over here, it's right on Broadway? What if he wanted to turn that into an RV park? That's not the most ideal place for our looks of our downtown,
Yeah.
but it's a commercially zoned parcel.
Behind the auto, where?
The auto shop is actually over on Oaks Hauser.
Oh, yeah, that's privately owned and nothing ever happens there. So,
Well, I'm just saying, that right there on Broadway is a vacant lot that he stores cars in
Oh.
all the time.
The one on.
you're talking about Jim Northcutt,
Yeah.
Red Lodge Collision Center.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So this is what I'm
The one right
saying,
in
we approve it for one, we could have RV hookups right there. I don't care whether they're for employees or not, because most people would prefer, like I saw in some of the documentation, to actually park in town and then they could be
well,
walkable.
you could change it so it's not in the R4 down, right in the downtown area.
Well, yeah, right now,
I
our
mean, you could, instead of saying,
911 amended just says commercially owned.
right, I know, so, but, I mean, that's why, I mean, you can put some side rails on
We
it.
could change,
And you could say that it, you know, the city, north and south entrances are typically where you would have an RV park when people first come into town on either entrance.
we would just say it's not a conditional use in the R4
Well,
zone.
Well, it still would be,
Or-
our RV parks are still a conditional use regardless.
Right.
You know, it just, but it's just, do you want the existing RV parks or the RV parks that you allow in, do you want them to be able to rent out to somebody like 30 days at a time?
Well, I would love to do that, I just don't want it in our community entrance. I think it's gonna.
Where would you put an RV park?
Outside, right where they are,
Oh,
Perry County.
Yeah, but see, and I disagree. I think the Eagles Nest would be a perfect spot, a beautiful spot for an RV park.
Because you can't park it, you can't do anything with that, it's in the flood zone.
Not all of it.
No, not all of it, just
You
the
just
part,
can't put
the part
permanent,
on Broadway is the only part, but that's not the highest and best use.
right, but
for
there's
Broadway
not,
frontage.
but there, you just can't put permanent structures there. And RVs are not permanent structures, so,
So he could turn the backside. I thought he was talking with the mayor about,
oh, I don't know, I've had so many
Hypothetically
people
speaking.
say that that would be a beautiful RV
Well,
park.
and like,
I'm
what
like,
about, was it Dave's spot across, like, near the Fairtooth Electric area? I mean,
Yeah, I know, I mean, it's,
That's an eyesore as it is now.
I know.
Well, you know that there's what, 29 acres on the other side
Right, that are for
that's
sale.
for sale.
Yeah.
And part of that's in the city,
Mhm.
supposedly. And,
Every town that I've gone into that offers RV parks, like Miles City, it's like right there, right when you first drive into town on the
The
left-hand
RV
side.
park
And
in Lewistown is
it's- I mean, they're all kind of,
right next to the Walmart.
yeah, they're,
Conveniently.
and Walmart is an RV
I
park.
know.
I know, yeah, that's true. We don't have a Walmart for that kind of parking.
I don't know, after driving through town this week and seeing them park on Main Street, that was, I mean, granted, they weren't parking there, like,
Permanently.
permanently, but they were actually, like, let's go out to dinner, let's park the RV right here on Main Street.
Yeah, that's what the Civic Center parking lot's supposed to be for.
And so many of them, well, there's also big giant holes. I've always told people, we don't have holes, we have reverse speed bumps.
Speed holes.
Speed hole, they slow you
Speed
down.
holes, It's the same thing. You
I
still have to slow
I
down.
can see
Yeah.
both sides of this, like, yes, we don't want an eyesore, but is this a temporary fix for workforce housing?
Well, what if you put some type of a, word, something that says, if you're going to have one of these quote-unquote RV parks, it has to be a minimum of 6 sites. You can't just have, like, right downtown, just have one.
One.
Right.
Or one over here.
You have to have at least,
Yeah.
At least 6.
Absolutely, and I would
but
totally
no
be,
more than.
and I would totally be fine with doing it by zone. Like, no RV parks in the the R4 high-density downtown historic business
Correct.
district,
I mean,
you
I
know?
really want an RV
And that, I mean,
park
and
in
that's
the
how
community,
the planning board typically, says it's not allowed here, but it's a conditional use there. I mean, that's up to the planning board to decide where those are. But I don't think we can just completely exclude them from town. I mean, we have so many people that want to stay, camp right in town because they don't want to drive from KOA or from Perry's, they want to be in town. And I
And then
think,
we go back whether or not they must have storing water. I mean, the guy, my next door neighbor, had a camper parked in front of his place on city-owned property for the last 6 months. He did move it finally, and he
Yeah.
had a bucket under the toilet.
What was with what about the one up by, what is that place called now, right next to the park? It used to be, Moran's place. Kitty Corner.
oh,
Like, has anybody, like,
Next to which park?
Lions Park?
Lions Park, right, kitty corner from IGA, but they turned it into a bed and breakfast center or whatever, but there's.
And it's sold, it's got a new owner now.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
You're
but
talking
his
about
RV,
Sunrise House or something?
yeah, but his RV parked out front for X amount of days.
Well, typically, you're supposed to move your RV,
Every
any
14
trailer,
days.
no, actually, you're supposed to move it every 7 days.
Yeah.
Every 5, is
But
it 5 or
I
7
would think
days,
that-
I
that-
can't remember. It's in that
Yeah, they
ordinance.
don't spend as much time on that as they,
The only time that that's enforced is if someone complains.
yeah.
Now, if you're camping in it, that's a different story
Right.
in the city right away, but,
And that's never allowed.
well, it's not supposed to be, but there again, it's typically
just-
one of those ordinances that's enforced. If the neighbors complain about it, then they'll tell you to knock it off.
Yeah.
So do we have a question facing council, or is it at the planning board level?
No, it's on the ordinance itself, and it could end up having to go back to planning board, but do we want to allow more than 14 consecutive days of camping
And
On
I
commercially owned.
on commercially
I
owned?
think we should, with all the,
With,
the exceptions that we've talked about.
Well, and the RV parks are already a conditional use in certain areas. So if you want to put in there for, in an RV, a designated RV park, then, 14 consecutive days on a commercially owned lot, but, but no limit in a designated RV park. That might fix it, so you're not gonna have a single commercial lot with someone camping out on it all summer long,
Right.
I mean, that would, so then that way the planning board would have first say over what that looks like and how that, they have to have the public safety, they have to have water and sewer, and they're not just using a bucket. That might be a workaround for it, if they're already a designated park with, city services.
Well, we're gonna have it, employee paid, right? I mean, employer paid.
Well, if it's an RV park, I don't know that you necessarily have to do that because the RV park owner would be responsible for it. Having the employer pay for it is just an incentive for the landlord to rent to
Well,
them.
isn't it also we're trying to help, temporary housing people?
Yeah.
There's a
That
big-
was the
there's a-
idea.
That's the main
Yeah,
idea, is
yeah.
to bring, like, it's
Yeah.
not
Or
necessarily,
workforce housing.
right, it's not
Right.
necessarily our tourists that are coming in, to park their RV for, you know, the entire summer in the
Right.
RV park. Like, that's what we're not, that's what I don't think we need. Like,
Okay, so the first rule is that it would be workforce housing only paid for by employers,
Correct.
right,
okay? And then that would be, limited,
Just don't know if that's enforceable.
it is to the owner of the RV park.
It is, but I don't know if the city can make that a
We make a
requirement.
lot of requirements that
Yeah.
aren't
I guess we'd have to talk to, you'd have to run it by Dennison to see if that would be
legal.
legal.
Yeah, okay.
Run it by legal on that
But
one.
let's go that route.
Yeah.
I mean, this would be, to me, this would be a temporary type thing, and is that a house that's going by? I bet you this is Terry moving the garage from Campbell's lot. There's a
Oh.
garage going by. I'm a little distracted, sorry.
Oh, wow.
there's a house
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
But,
On the move.
Terry
Yeah, it is.
Barnhart was
Yeah.
gonna get the garage from the Campbell place.
Yeah, that's definitely that garage.
There's the garage.
It's like I told you, there was a garage going by.
Not nearly as cool as the rectory, but, you know.
Yeah.
No, I
yeah.
know, but he's following the streets that doesn't have the cross electric. Workforce housing only paid by employers, limited to,
I think we said, like,
June through,
yeah, at least 3 months, no more than 4, I think is what we wrote on our last.
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
December.
But is it restricted to summer only?
No.
No.
Well, that's just, I mean, because a lot of campers are winterized, and you
Winterized.
can live in them in the wintertime.
Limited to 4 months.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one concept, which would help with our workforce housing.
Correct.
Do we have to say that they must have their own, sewer and water?
Well, I just think I would put it as
I
a
would keep
designated
it-
RV park.
Yeah, it would, that would make it a designated.
But the RV park at Alpine doesn't have to have sewer because they have the dump station.
Well, and I think that's fine. I mean, but they have hookups and they have, I mean, they're not going to allow, I mean, if it's a designated RV park.
They're gonna be overseen by somebody.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're gonna have a property manager on site.
So we don't need to put that in there?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, and if you have like KOA and Perry's, if they have someone in there long-term, they're not gonna let them be trashy. I mean,
Right.
that's their livelihood.
Mhm.
And the same with the Alpine. I mean, his place is it's so meticulous down there, and he
I
is
know,
not,
but it's for sale.
it is,
It's for sale. So we don't
Yeah.
know that
We don't know what
next
we
people-
don't know what the next person's gonna be like.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean,
But we do have codes that, you know,
Right.
if it starts to look trashy, we could send someone down there and say, this is not what we agreed to,
So-
you know?
and one of
Following that same code of it looking trashy, have we done anything to address Eagles Nest?
That's different. That's a condemned property that,
should be.
Should be now, but.
it was basically condemned when he bought it.
When he bought it.
By FEMA, because they said that it was over 50% depreciated in a floodway, so he could not fix it up, which is why it's looked like this for over 20 years.
Yeah. One of the
Because he was going to
discussions-
completely fix it up and,
One of the discussions at planning board was, shielding them from the highway. And there was a lot of discussion, and they were supposed to give us a landscape plan. And nothing in here mentions the landscape plan. And that was to shield them from people driving by, but not so much as that they couldn't see pulling out.
yeah, I mean, it's such a, in that area in particular, is such a small area, I don't know how you could shield it without fencing
Well-
and making it
Well,
really
it's
hard to.
shrubs. If you did some landscaping, you could do it back far enough that when they pull out past the shrubs. And so that was something that was in here and never addressed again. And it doesn't look like they made it contingent on that. That's why the vote
I
is 4-2.
think we had, when we were on the, council, I don't think we included that because with the number of spots he had, there wasn't enough room to do enough landscaping to shield, it wouldn't have worked.
Okay, well,
It
back to
wouldn't
the,
have-
back to
but-
the camping thing though. After going through all of this and thinking about it, like, unless it is a designated RV park, the 14 days should stand. And I'm almost, part of me is still kind of like, even if it is a designated RV park, it should still stand.
So you're saying don't help workforce
Well,
housing?
We can help workforce housing, and by all means, they can rent it, but I don't know how, like you say, if we open it, I'm picturing
Well,
the type of RVs that workforce housing brings in.
well, we had, this was brought around because there was a bus parked on the south end of Broadway, right there. And they were living in it, it was all decked out, you know, and I don't know, somebody must have complained, but it was a commercial lot and they were renting it to the bus. You know, and they were working here in town and they would take their bus down and empty the stuff and, you know, they were basically dry camping, it was all enclosed. And then there was the gentleman down by my dad's shop that was living in a bus, you know, on a commercial lot, he was renting the commercial lot. And, I mean, I don't know, it didn't bother me because to me it was private property and you have a right to do, you know, to
What you want with it.
what you want with it to a certain extent. But I just, but there were certain people that didn't, you know, like to look
The
at that.
community interest, the real
Yeah.
issue is community interest.
Yeah, and I get that, but I just,
that was
I guess I'm a lot about private property rights too, to a certain
That was-
point, you know, and,
And that's what zoning is. Zoning
Yeah.
is taking away private property rights.
right, it is,
We
and it
understand
wasn't,
that. That's the
I-
balance.
well, this ordinance is what took it away, because the zoning, I mean, they weren't RV parks, they were dry camping on
Yeah.
both spots, you know, they
weren't
had,
approved.
they had parked their bus camper on a private lot and were living in it.
Yeah.
You know, and so this was the city's way of saying, we don't want that. But if you at least allow it in, you know, an RV,
Bona fide.
RV park, then there's already controls in place and a property manager in place. You're not gonna have people, you know, peeing in buckets and stuff. And it will be hopefully kept up and neat and tidy because it's their livelihood.
So what
you
are the
know?
limits, what currently with like Perry's and KOA, what are their? do have-
Well, and when I talked to the Youngs about this, you know, he said, I probably would only not do it a lot, he said, because it would be money out of my pocket.
Mhm.
You know, I make way more money
What's the
with selling it, you know, doing it every night, but I'd kind of like to help out too with this workforce housing issue, and I feel bad when I'm turning someone away who's got a job here and they can't find a place to
And
live.
be able to sell it easier if that were part of it. But what he did say in here is that his main thing was to use 3 of those spots for his own workforce.
Well, and that's the thing, he had been having.
And that was approved.
And he had been having camping, yeah, he had been using that, he
And I
had
think
bought
he
campers.
actually got 3 RVs parked behind the building, from the pictures that I saw online, that come with the,
Right, and
house.
they are not in the, they only live there in the summer, not in the,
Yeah, so he's already got RV parking, he's already doing that outside the RV park.
for the employees.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, so he's,
Well, and I don't know if he moves them in, I don't know if he moves them in the summertime to the RV park, I don't know.
yeah, I
don't.
was just looking at, the aerials
Yeah,
on the MLS.
right,
And the aerials had the 3 in the back.
Right.
They weren't in the RV park. But that was the idea with the RV park too, is we were thinking workforce housing. So that was one of the things that they were really pushing to approve, because they wanted to approve it for workforce housing. And now apparently the workforce housing for them is, you know, behind the building.
well, and actually though,
Don't make it into
the mayor made it sound like when we passed that because we passed it that way, that they would no longer be able to do that.
Oh, because of the ordinance?
because of that ordinance.
Well, they're still doing it. They're just not charging for it.
Yeah.
Well, and they don't
They
charge
are,
their
but they
employees to
aren't.
stay
No, of
there,
course they don't,
so,
because it's hard enough getting employees.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So discussing what we would change on this 9/11, ordinance 9/11 amended. Well, one thing is it says privately owned property that is commercially zoned.
Mm-hmm,
So we would need to exclude the downtown.
mm-hmm,
yeah, because the commercial, okay.
yeah. Excluding, you know, you could say excluding C4 if you wanted to, so that,
I think that's a good way to put it.
yeah.
It's
'Cause that's-
3, yes.
Excluding the historic downtown
Right.
business district, however you wanna say it.
Is that 3 and 4?
Both of the community entrances are R4.
Okay.
Okay, then you have R3, which is a weird one.
You mean
C3, yeah.
what, the downtown,
C.
the downtown
C4.
business district is C4,
C,
C4,
is it C4?
uh-huh.
Okay.
And then C3 is, the next out, pretty much, and then,
So,
like, La Pomitos is C3, and,
Yeah, we know that.
yeah,
so then would we exclude C4 and C3?
Well, I'd have to, I can check
Because
in
I'm assuming C3 is, what is Old Town Square?
C3.
C3.
So I would say the downtown historic business district, because that is basically all of downtown.
Or we could
Okay.
change it privately owned property in the community entrance.
I think we keep it with the zoning, God, that's really, what was the one next to me?
Yeah, I think that's, community entrance is not clarified enough.
No,
Clear.
I don't think it is either, because community
Okay,
entrance.
so we can come up with the exact,
Yeah, whether
Yeah,
it's historic
zoning.
or historic downtown or C3 and 4.
Yep, so I have excluding downtown C4.
yeah.
And you see the sign when you're coming into Red Lodge, like right around, where the barbecue place is, where it says entering, or historic downtown area, so.
So that
Fine.
needs to be amended to start with, so commercially zoned isn't enough.
Right, yeah, 'cause I mean, you have commercial zones all up and down.
Well, and there's some other little pockets that are commercially zoned. So that definitely should be changed on here. The question is whether or not we're going to,
Well, you could just leave it the 14 days, but say unless in a, licensed RV park.
Will that work?
Yeah,
Well, now,
now you're saying that it has to be in a licensed RV park that's been approved by the planning board and
Okay,
city
so-
council.
okay, so then we're not, my concern is, we open it like that, everyone's gonna be like, sure, I have a licensed RV park now.
No, you don't, it's all go through
It's
state,
a big deal.
it's
Okay.
it's a huge big deal.
Yeah.
So that means it's 14 consecutive days on a commercial lot unless you're a commercially, you know, a licensed RV park.
So, overnight camping.
We'll do state license,
Including
license,
but not limited
right,
to 3 zones.
state license.
And then we still cap it at 4 months.
Well, instead of going that way, just, you know, that for more than 14 consecutive days unless a state licensed RV park. And then you can stay as long as you want if it's a state licensed
Okay.
RV park.
Okay.
Like the ones in Arizona where they,
But doesn't
Number-
doesn't that turn it into a one in Arizona where they just leave their RV there year round? And next thing you know, yeah.
then they die.
I
I mean, I'm just saying, the more the people that are the ones that have the RV parks down there.
Well, then it actually, you know, becomes a mobile home park is what it becomes.
It could at that point, yeah, if you, I mean, you don't necessarily, we have a mobile home park. It just, you know, you have to meet certain requirements for snow load and stuff like that, and it has to be permanently attached.
So I think if we can,
Permanently attached.
if we can change the I would feel more comfortable if we did put a time limit to it.
And that's fine.
Like, you know, similar to the,
4 months.
the 4 months, like, that keeps it winter/summer.
Are we still including the paid by employer?
I have that on here as well, that workforce housing.
We need
only
it, that
pays
one we have to take it
employers.
through Dennison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No longer than 4 months.
Mhm.
Other than that, I think that we're fine. I mean, obviously, the overnight camping on city-owned properties is a no-brainer, no.
Right, yeah, no, it was just that 14-day
It was just-
consecutive thing on,
The other thing.
because we
that-
don't have that on private lots. I mean, on residential lots. I mean, if I had a residential lot right now up at the golf course, I could rent it out and let somebody live on it in a camper. You don't have it in
HOA
there.
won't allow it, so it.
I know,
you could do it
but,
here.
but yeah,
But like in my, like I could,
You could.
yeah, you could do it on yours, yeah,
Line them up, baby.
yeah.
Give them a bucket.
So, I mean, I guess, to me, what's the difference between a commercial lot and a residential lot that's in the city entrance? I mean, you put no regulations on the residential lot, but you have on the commercial.
Because
Just,
there has to be a limit on personal property rights.
if it were up to my family, we'd have an RV park.
Another thing on this is I noticed that on this amended ordinance, it has the fines, penalties for noncompliance. And I thought penalties for noncompliance were only by resolution. So including it in the ordinance means that whenever you want to raise your prices, you have to go an amendment to the ordinance.
Right.
So,
well, isn't it, well, a lot of times they'll put that in the ordinance, the penalty for
Yeah, and
not
these
following the
penalties, though,
ordinance.
are, they're not even, like,
the first offense is $50, okay,
that's like cheap, that's still cheaper than getting a hotel room.
I know,
Like,
yeah.
sure, I'll pay the.
Well, the max we can do is 500.
So can't we just say, there will be penalties?
can't we say first offense, $50 plus towing expense? Because I feel like,
You don't tow for the first one. No, but I just think that the penalties for noncompliance should be set by resolution.
yeah.
Yeah, well, in most of our ordinances, if there's a penalty for not following it, the penalty's in the ordinance.
It is in the
Yeah,
ordinance?
the resolution is for fees.
So then if you find in 10 years that this is a ridiculous amount, you have to change the ordinance.
Well, you do, but it's state law says that the max we can ever fine is $500.
Yeah,
And
but
that's
that
where
may change too.
And if it does, then we can go in and,
Do another amendment on.
we just amend it, yeah, if we want to,
Set
yeah.
9/11, you know.
Yeah,
Fifth
yeah.
amended.
But
2019.
it's
I couldn't
been,
even find the first amended.
I know, I heard that, it was a
Did you
big,
hear that? It-
yeah.
I had Dave
find
running around.
anything,
It's like-
yes,
I heard that it was on the city council, but
no.
it's nowhere on the website. Yeah, I drove him a little crazy, but I got it.
Yeah, I
And
know,
it's actually signed, so many of these aren't signed,
I know,
and they're on the website.
yes.
Okay, so we want to move to amend ordinance 9/11 to, whereas the city-owned land to be used for overnight camp must be competitively priced with the
Oh, that's more like if we, use the city-owned land camping, and we're charging for it, we should be competitively priced, so we're not in competition with like the Forest Service or with, you know, other places. We don't have any services, so the only thing that you could compare it to would be camping up in the campground.
Well, they do, yeah. and
Because you
they-
can't really compare to KOA or Perry's, because they have all the services
They have the-
there, you
And
know,
a
the
couple
hookup.
times we do camping, you know. We
Okay.
see that with the bicycle races and
Yeah,
All right, so
the
then,
tent camping.
yeah.
looking at the overnight,
And do we charge them for that?
We talked about it, but, like charging, like for the event fee itself,
Yeah.
when we were reviewing that, but it didn't get passed, was to base our event fee based on the estimated number of campers that were going to be in attendance,
Mhm.
people that were actually going to be camping there. And so if it was like under 100, you'd get this, it would be
Overnight,
this
yeah,
fee, you know, 100 to
250.
250 and 250 to 5 and over 500, because, you know,
There is, you know.
so we had talked about doing that. So
Yeah.
the nightly fee would be based on the number of campers that were,
And I think
in
that's a
attendance.
good idea, really.
yeah, I mean, and we had it all worked out, but then it didn't get passed, so.
Well, some things don't get past the first time.
all right.
Okay, so that takes care of that. I heard, public works was canceled.
Yeah, Chris is gone.
Chris John, we didn't have,
Okay, cool.
not a whole lot, I mean, nothing that that was addressed between now and last week.
Yeah, and we just need to warn everybody about the abuse of changing this.
Mm-hmm.
and how it could be abused. I mean, I know the Youngs have been here for a long time, they do a great job, but they're selling it.
Right, well, and that's the concern, and that was like, when I was reading the minutes from when they were passing it, like, that was the big concern, and was, okay, what about the next owners?
Yeah,
Like,
they
what do
kept
we?
saying, oh, they've done a great job, it's
Yeah,
really
but the next
clean,
owners, but the next owners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then,
Yeah, I mean, you can't base
here
it
we
off,
are.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. You can't base it off of one business. You can't just say,
one
th-
ownership.
yeah, this is for, the Alpine. No, this is like citywide. If we have another RV park in town, which we very well could, because there's a lot of interest in people doing that, will we allow this or not?
Yeah.
Period. I wouldn't, we can't really single out, I mean, although they're the only RV park in town right now, we, they, like you
I
said,
do-
they may not be owning it next year.
But I
So-
do like the zoning and the limiting of the spaces, how many we can have, and.
Well, the licensed RV park itself will be limited by, I mean, it's
It's
state,
limited by
and it's
state.
also the planning
By
board that's
state.
has to approve it.
It's
Okay.
conditional.
It's a
Okay.
conditional use. Every RV park has to go in front of planning board and has to go in front of council.
And the thing with
So.
conditional use is we don't have to approve it,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have to be even all the way across the board that you approve that one and not this one. You have a reason why you don't, but we don't have to be
Okay,
exactly the same. We just have to be very cautious
gotcha.
when we turn it down.
Yeah, and I guess, my thing goes back to, if we let residential lots do it, why aren't we letting commercial
Commercial.
lots do it? And just base it on where it's allowed and where it's not.
Mm-hmm. Right.
know,
That's where it
versus,
narrow
like-
down where it's allowed.
Yeah,
The zoning.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that's just, that's just my personal opinion, I guess, 'cause
Okay, well, I'll come up with the zoning numbers. Okay, well, we have 15 minutes. I had actually, I have asked Lonnie 3 times for the
she
Word
just
document.
sent you a email.
Oh, God, thank you. Because I wanted to mess around with it. I didn't want to start from scratch.
Yeah.
Or.
The event process.
Yeah. Said Courtney, you did those new applications, and we are currently trying to find those in her files. If we can't, Danae can convert the PDF to Word files. Once we get something figured out, we will send them to you.
Yeah, because I opened up my PDF and it wouldn't let me change it. I mean, I can do, to start over,
Mm-hmm.
but I would end up putting it in design, a totally different, a different format
Right,
Yeah.
that you guys don't have here. So it would create a problem later.
yeah.
And I don't know if she could convert a PDF. I can make a PDF out of InDesign, but I.
But then you'd be right back to the same thing, where if we want to make any changes to it, we
Make
can't.
changes.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it should get.
Yeah, so that's been on my list. I keep kind of leaving it there to remind myself, and then when I see it, it's like, I still haven't got that.
Yeah.
I'm going through it. MOUs, I was going to, if time allowed, to go through all of these MOUs, have all of us take a look at them. Some of them have expired, some have not, and I'm not gonna do it today. As far as I'm concerned, we can probably call it a short meeting. Because there's nothing to, update on annexation. I haven't gotten any more information, and I'm sure it's kind of low on our list.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I have a non-question.
A non-
Non-question, brilliant.
Okay,
Well, I think I brought it up last week, have a resident in Ward 1 that is complaining about the stop sign and cars speeding on Fifth and Hauser.
Mm-hmm.
we discussed that this morning in
Public health.
Public health.
Okay.
I was here for public health.
Yeah.
No,
Maybe, it was before you got here, maybe. And the police chief said he was gonna put up one of those yellow signs that said, slow down.
Okay.
Did you see the signs over here that say, they're like yard signs, but they say slow down? And I think it's part of the, I don't know if it's part of the safe school, which makes no sense because it's nowhere near it, but it's literally like a block over.
Is it
here.
one of those yellow ones, or is it
No, it's
just a
just
private sign?
It looks like a private sign that says slow down, and then
It's
something
fine.
about the youth and the kids. I meant to take a picture of it, but.
Yeah,
Children at play.
Yeah, no,
I
I don't
seen
even know if it was that. I was about to.
I've seen
Well,
those
then grab
signs
it.
before where personal property.
Right.
But it wasn't, it was right next to where the road closed for the, construction right there.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh, is this in someone's private? No, because it was,
Well, we just talked about having those yellow signs, and I think it's in Hauser,
Yeah, so they are going to put the sign?
that's what he,
Not a stop sign, no.
not a stop sign, but a slow down.
a slow down.
Okay. Well, she called me.
Because they
to
keep
discuss
blowing
it.
that stop sign, right?
Yeah, and she said it's her and the neighbors, not just her, and she said basically people are avoiding Broad Street and just jumping over there so they can go zip on and down. And
Yeah.
she says somebody's gonna get hurt,
And I didn't,
so I thought I'd bring it up again.
I was wondering if it needs to be painted on the street itself.
She suggested that as she had like 3 or 4 suggestions, that was one of them.
Yeah, she had some suggestions, I mean, last year too, when I was on public
Same thing with
conversation.
this in Hauser.
So at least we're doing something this time.
Mhm.
So
Good.
she wants a stop sign or
She has to stop
Stop
sign
sign.
ignoring it,
Right.
No
Oh,
one
okay.
really,
Oh, well, then it's an enforcement issue.
yeah.
I'm like,
But the police observed it, and it's still,
it just so happened, well, and, you know, you bought a police car, all rules are on deck, like, stopping, counting to 3, looking both ways.
yeah, I mean, I
Is there
think
a speed limit?
An
everybody,
extra police car we can park over there?
Well, that's what I said, I was like, go Cook City style, like, just park one up there.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fine.
they do it, but you don't know until you get too close, and by
Right.
then you've already slowed
Slowed
down.
down.
Yeah, but you've
So
already,
it's done its job.
but it would
Well,
only work for first-time offenders.
I tell you, stop signs are being, blown all over town. I see it constantly. It's not just there.
Oh, and it's
It's like people have just decided they don't stop.
on Main
anymore.
Street, too.
Yeah, passing on Main Street too is another big thing. It's like, yeah. I'm like,
We told you about that, didn't
passing,
you?
yeah.
Well, some of them are an enforcement issue, but
Yeah,
apparently
absolutely.
this one, Public Works and the police department said, yes, it's a problem.
Yeah, it is, it's huge, and like, I even told her, because I was like, what, no way,
Yeah.
and then I caught myself driving down House, and I was like, oh, I am seriously exceeding the
I
speed
know,
limit.
I know where
And I
that
did, and
was.
I straight up, I was like, I'm guilty, I apologize, like,
Did you write yourself a ticket?
no, well, 'cause I did the same thing, I wanted to bypass, and that was when I was still working at Research, and I wanted to get on 78.
We could put a camera there for everybody who blows through, like they do in the big cities, you know?
Right,
And then, contact them and send them a ticket.
but I mean, it's
Well,
the thing,
if we're doing something, that's better than nothing.
Right.
So we'll start with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's,
And
yeah.
I'll-
Yeah,
I mean, she also suggested, and this probably cost prohibitive, but the sign says, speed limit 25, you are going 40.
Well, that's what we were hoping to have on north and south end of town.
Right.
Because we definitely need one. I mean,
Well, I thought we were going to have that.
I don't know
Was
if,
that MDT that was gonna do that?
Yeah, I hope so.
They do that in Roberts, they do that in Joliet, what's
Right.
wrong with Red Lodge?
yeah, I mean, I would appreciate one up by mine because people come
Bearing down that hill.
But
Fair
you
enough.
said- somebody said that's a state function,
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
so
don't.
we can't do anything about it.
Anything on Broadway and 78 is state,
Well, that's because those are state highways. right?
yeah.
Yeah, but they could put a sign, you know, just like they do in the other two cities that are a lot smaller than us.
Right.
Mhm.
Tell you that, you know, it's blinking red. Of course, Roberts, you know, you're way down by the
And I'm
rest
watching
area,
it.
and it's starting to blink that you're going too fast. Now,
Right.
of course,
That's funny.
it's hard because it's, you know, a long straightaway. It's got a really good eye.
I know, it's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
It's really incredible. He said, what's that red dot?
I
Like,
don't
it's
know,
not even-
I think it's a policeman.
I'm always like, it's a Saturday, and there's no school today.
I wonder about a red blinking light.
Or even just like a warning, they have the hazard warning lights that have the blinking triangle around it, like we used to have those.
So we just did the sign that just says slow.
I think that's what he, you know, he has those signs for crosswalks and stuff,
Yeah.
and I thought that's what he was gonna do.
Hey, he's right there.
Speaking of the devil.
Sorry. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, man, come on back.
Bad timing on his part.
Duh.
Well, I mean, like you're saying, the ones that have the blinking lights, that would be that'd be even more helpful.
Anything-
But if we're, at least I can tell her something.
Yeah, that they have plans of putting up a slow sign.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's slow, it's just one of those ones that.
I thought they were, I guess I'm
Crosswalk sign.
confused. I thought it was a crosswalk
I
sign.
think it's a
Is it a
crosswalk.
crosswalk sign?
Yeah, it's one of the crosswalk signs, like
But that's-
pedestrian crossing.
What does
Because
that
they
say?
have it.
It says, you put it in the middle of the street and it says pedestrian crossing,
Like how they do it on
crosswalk.
Macy, sometimes they put the.
And that wasn't,
Quick question.
that wasn't at
Before- I mean, you
Pfaffenhauser.
keep walking and
Fifth and Hauser,
Fissenhauser,
Oh, yeah.
we're planning on putting up some sort of traffic,
Traffic control device.
yeah.
Like another stop sign, or?
well, the stop
Just
signs
a-
are blowing is the
Well,
problem.
that's,
They're
yeah.
blowing that stop sign all the time.
Yeah, I went down there, when I worked a traffic enforcement shift and went down there and had like 17 stops in one shift or something.
It's stop.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
good thing I wasn't me.
Is there anything that we can do? And I think it's kind of a surprise for most people. Yes, there are people that blow through it on purpose, but
Sure.
it does come up as a surprise.
You know, when I was down there the entire time, I didn't see anybody just run right through. Most of them were just rolling stops, where they would slow down and then just go. I personally.
Seems to be
didn't
a
see anybody-
consensus for all stop signs in town recently.
Sure.
They're all yield.
Yeah, pretty much.
Suggestions.
Just-
So what, she was saying that you guys decided to put something up, you are gonna put a sign up?
That's up to Public Works, that's not up to me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And-
So, well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, so what you were putting up was the pedestrian crossing,
Sure.
and that, right, and was that
Actually, I had
over?
somebody get hit by a truck there on foot one time,
Oh, God.
yeah.
So if we put up a pedestrian crossing sign there on Fifth and Hauser,
It would slow them, it would definitely get their attention.
yeah, they still may blow the sign, but they'll blow it slower.
Right.
Yeah, maybe it'll actually stop.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So what's it gonna say, pedestrian crossing?
Yeah, it's those yellow signs they put in the middle of Broadway
Okay.
at the crosswalk, to let people know that it's a crosswalk.
Was it more-
Well, it helps direct
Not large,
people
but
No, it,
to the crosswalk too.
In
What-
the intersection.
was it more by the, Boys and Girls Club and the daycare center that you were gonna put them up?
I put two of them up over there,
Okay.
I think last week on,
Okay.
Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
And,
Sometimes I think we just need to close that
Especially
street.
in the summer.
I agree with you there.
I
Yeah.
brought that up at the last,
I know.
like, when I was in public health and safety, like, that, there's no reason for it to be open, or turn it into a drop-off pickup lane.
Yeah,
That would,
I would just close it.
I mean, close that section?
Yeah,
Between the boys and girls.
because of the
and
skate park and the Boys and Girls Park and the Boys and Girls Club and the, daycare center, and then there's a park right across the street, and the kids just run back and forth constantly, and they're
I
right
think
in
it's
between
proactive, I
cars.
think it's, yeah, it's a proactive approach to, maybe preventing a kid getting hit by a car.
Would just be to close it.
Yeah, but when it comes to traffic and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and drop off and pick up, I mean, like, everybody's a self-proclaimed expert, even on the subject of law enforcement.
They are.
Everything.
Yeah.
I have my degree.
In law enforcement.
Yeah, my lifetime learning degree.
Drop an application. We'll put you on grade.
From my brothers, I've learned it all.
Between what you're getting paid, you know.
Like, God.
All right.
Not for me personally,
Okay.
but brothers.
Well, if you could put up one of those crosswalk signs here, just to.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Just slow them down at least.
Yeah, I need to save a couple for Broadway. I know that Mike from Public Works, I spoke to him there today, he says that he has a few.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
Okay.
A few to spare, extras? or-
That's
They-
what,
they
that's
belong
what
to the
you can
police
tell your
department.
constituents.
Oh,
Yeah.
lovely.
Is
Yep.
that you've made us aware
Okay.
and.
Yep.
Perfect.
$17,000?
Okay, is there anything else that we
Double
have?
sign.
Yeah, I didn't order them.
I know, I know, it was,
17
so it's
spots.
before your time.
Approximately, there was quite a few.
So we're adjourning, I'm gonna.
I'm adjourned.
One, you gotta hit the gavel.
One quick question.
Oh, yeah, right?
Budget something tonight, y'all?